How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Crossout with the last, maybe or second to last video of Leviathan ClanWars. I figured it would be appropriate to give my thoughts on it now that we are at the end of the week, or at least we started a new week, so there will be no more Leviathan ClanWars. And people have asked me what I feel about it. Just to summarize sort of my experiences with this and my feelings towards it. I've seen people try different things during this mode, and I've also seen the rest of those people, which means like 98% of the bunch, play Cricket hovers for an entire week, or Cricket Leviathan hovers for an entire week. And those are some of the things that I want to touch upon in this video. For me personally, I took this as an experience to just try something different. Basically, I did not really expect too much from this week. I think it's a fun little experiment to see what we can do differently with this game, and for once not care too much about the rating while we do so. We had a fine week altogether, but honestly the game mode was just not suiting at all for Clan Wars when it comes to having ratings, so you kind of force people into playing meta builds. But let's start with my overall feel about it is that Leviathans in battles is something a lot of people have asked for, so they definitely need to put this into the game, and rather now than in 6 months or something. The only thing that I just do not believe that they should do is put it in a ranked game mode, because first of all, you don't have to aim this thing most of the time. You just have to rush straight into the enemy and then let the build do the work in case you get a pick, or you don't have to rush straight in. That would be rather stupid. But I mean, once you get the fight, you don't really have to focus on anything other than just driving. And there are a lot of issues with this that I will also talk about later when it comes to different weapons and the way they act when you actually engage. But all in all, as I said, my experience with this game mode, fine. As a ranked thing, not very good, because as I said, it forces people to go into meta builds, and when you do this, as we could see during this week, some builds just completely dominate the battlefield. We've seen literally had a session of 4 hours where I would give away a sticker each time we faced a Rocket Leviathan. During a 4-hour period, I gave away 2 stickers. So for 4 hours, we played nothing but Cricket or Locust or whatever Leviathans, except for 2 single games. And I believe we did around 30 games that session. So, you know, you guys do the math on just how many people actually play Rocket Leviathans compared to everything else. And the reason that people do this and they don't really feel like experimenting is because rating is at stake here. Uranium is at stake. Your win rate is at stake. This would be way less dominant if we actually had a game mode that was separate from rating, or a game mode where you could play, you know, once a week or something like that. But it wouldn't affect your overall placement, because if you are fighting for placements, well, then you have to defend your placements. And if you want to win, well, then, you know, you got to go with the flow and pick whatever will get you those wins. In this specific scenario, that was Cricket hovers for the most part. I don't believe it was the fact that they were on hovers that was the most meta. Of course, the Cricket for the most part has to be paired with hovers because it's so much easier to kite people. But in this specific scenario, we have 2 issues. It's a fixed angle gun, and we had this random Leviathan perk that I literally do not know why they decided to introduce. Basically, this perk would increase the reload speed of your weapons by absurd amounts. I don't even remember the percentages of it, but you would be able to pretty much fire your weapons non-stop with this perk active, and it was active for something like 5 seconds, I think. So you would be able to lash out just absolutely crazy amounts of damage with reloading based weapons. This completely, first of all, neglects any other type of weapon. If it's not a reload based weapon, you wouldn't get any buff from it at all. This means that already you put machine guns, shotguns, anything like that, the Helios, all of those weapons, you put those at a disadvantage compared to any other types of weapon, and they didn't really give any arguments to why. So you know, they kind of forced us to play these reload based Leviathans already. Second of all, we have the fixed angle weapons, which includes the Cricket, and the Cricket is, because of that, in a very, very big advantage over so many other weapons. I took the liberty to just try different things during this week, and for the most part that failed miserably. And while I do want to say that I enjoyed it, I really did. It was super fun to play. My competitive side was also just getting massively triggered. Like, I literally have never hated a Clan Wars week more than I hated this week. And I mean, I often hate playing Clan Wars because if we lose, I just hate it. I have a very strong competitive side, so it was also, I think, a little bit of a challenge for myself to maybe not, accept losses more, because it's per se not annoying to me, enemies and stuff like that, but it's just the fact of losing that I sometimes don't like, because I just have a massive competitive side. So seeing myself be in this spot where I don't want to play the most meta builds because I just want to enjoy this, and just not being able to enjoy it at all because there is only one build, literally one build that is meta, that was a massive challenge for me. And the reason that I didn't really have any success with it was because I didn't play fixed angle weapons. The thing is, with Leviathans, the targeting system targets anything on the map, literally anything on the map. If you see a Kapkan, your Leviathan, if you have 10 Fatmans on your build or 10 Mammoths on your build, if you see a Kapkan next to you, all those 10 cannons, in case they can actually shoot there because they have the vision for it, will turn to shoot that one Kapkan, even if you have an enemy in front of you. If it spots the Kapkan first, well, then it turns to shoot the Kapkan, and afterwards it turns to shoot the enemy. This puts you in a huge disadvantage because all your guns will be, first of all, reloading, and second of all, they will be turning towards the Kapkan instead of turning towards the enemy. Therefore, you won't be able to shoot immediately. This is a massive issue. Like, it's a huge issue for anyone playing with non-fixed weapons, and that's why the cricket is so strong, because as long as you just don't turn your weapon towards the enemy or towards the target that you don't want to shoot, well, then the build won't shoot. So it's super easy to dodge shooting Kapkans. It makes it much easier to cloak in, because with fixed angle weapons you almost always have some target in sight while pushing. Makes it pretty much impossible to cloak up and shoot the enemy. If on the other hand you run fixed angle weapons, well, then you have the advantage that as long as you just don't face the enemy, well, then you can pretty much push up all the way to them and cloak up to them and wait with shooting until you're literally next to them, and just point your weapons at them and, let the build do the rest of the work. This is not possible with the with turreted cannons, for example, because as I said, they will shoot pretty much anything on the map, so you can be 100% sure that it will at some point decloak something. So I see different types of builds just having way too many, pros, and some other builds have way too many cons, and that just reduces the viability of 80% of the builds in this game, and that is just a massive shame in my opinion. They could have pulled this off way better than they did, to be honest. I'm generally positive about all of the stuff that we see, but they could have changed this for the better in so many ways, but it didn't really seem like they wanted to try anything different compared to the last time. They gave us a new targeting system, and that's about it. Not too impressed with the targeting system as well. It worked fine for the most part. It's nice to be able to just choose somewhat who you want to focus fire, but again, at the end of the day, if you don't have fixed angle weapons, then it honestly doesn't matter too much who you try to focus fire. So build wise, huge shame that it wasn't pulled off better. It had so much potential, but I also think that there was a lot of positive things about it. First of all, it allowed so many people to actually push some rating that would otherwise not be able to push some rating. The main reason being that their wallet is not as big as other people who has like bunch of relics and stuff like that. The main reason that this was a thing was because, as we just saw, like crickets, wasps, pyrolets, all weapons that are at max epic rarity, all of these were the most dominant ones. If you wanted to build an 11 cricket Leviathan, well, then you would be able to do so for, the weapons around a max of around 4,000 coins, and that's, the price of 2 legendaries. So if you wanted to have a good Leviathan, you wanted to have a meta Leviathan, well, invest 4,000 coins and you are done. That might seem like quite a lot of money to some people, but again, as we talked about before, you need a minimum inventory value in order to be competitive in Clan Wars. It's just the way it is, and it is a competitive mode. It is something you prepare for, but the way that you prepare really just differs from person to person. So it should be possible for most of you. At least I know a lot of people were like, 10 scorpion hovers or 15 porcupine bricks or whatever would be the most dominant. But at the end of the day, I think we've seen what is the most dominant. The scorpion is also, you know, it does not have a fixed angle, so it would suffer from the same as I said before. One of those things being that it would shoot all over the place. Now, the scorpion is super precise, so it wouldn't be as big of a problem as, for example, with turreted cannons. But it would still shoot while it was spinning, so it would still shoot in every freaking direction and hit absolutely nothing if your guns were not in the exact most precise position the second that the weapon fired. If it spins and you have vision, it will just shoot. Even though the weapon is not pointed towards it, it will just shoot. So it might just shoot up in the air because it's about to spin around and target the person that you are looking at. So all in all, I think, you know, it had some good with it because it allowed a lot of people to actually play a meta build without having to invest like 300,000 coins in order to get the relics that they wanted, which would have been absolutely stupid if that was the case. So that was something that was actually pretty positive about it. And I also just like to see that it actually changed up what people played somewhat. We've seen some new experiments, like for example, the Mauler has really had some light shine upon it. It's all of a sudden a really capable melee weapon, which it wasn't before. So I think that's very interesting and very nice to see. And it definitely has challenged people to play some new stuff and also some old stuff, of course. Seeing the Mandrake still be super freaking strong, as you also saw in the beginning of this video. And I had another clip posted a couple of days ago, or another video posted a couple of days ago, where my Mandrake Leviathan literally or not Mandrake Leviathan, but my horizontal Mandrake literally two-shotted an enemy Leviathan, which was even a super fat spider. So also still just shows the absurdity of some weapons and just how much stronger they are compared to other weapons. As a final thing here, I also really just think that this has been a nice test because it has shown in when you take these these weapons to absurd amounts, you really just realize what weapons, like when you upscale it, you can really see which weapons deals more damage than compared to other weapons. For example, again, Cricket's, the amount of alpha damage just literally out damages everything that, you know, you would otherwise see. You cannot find anything that matches it. And I think for the most part, the devs haven't really acknowledged the fact that the Cricket is probably the highest alpha damaging weapon in the game right now, even considering that it's an epic. That's rather absurd in my opinion. But I think when you upscale like this, you really just see whether weapons are appropriate for their rarity. Because I would assume if a weapon dealt that much damage that the Cricket does, well, then in my opinion it should also reflect in its rarity. And I'm not saying that the Cricket should be a relic, but I am saying that maybe they should consider, if they want epic weapons in general to be the highest damaging weapons, because it's been a trend for so long now that for the most part, honestly, epic weapons are just capable of dealing more damage than relics and all that stuff. It also comes down to the playstyle, I do know that, but with the way that people build right now and with the way that people play, well, then epic weapons are just put in a position where they deal much more damage than anything else, and that is a huge issue in my opinion. Also for the Mauler now, I'm gonna play the Mauler for sure, because that thing literally just is a hot knife through butter pretty much when you play that against, for example, hovers, in a way that honestly a harvester won't be able to match that. But I'll try to get some clips up of that later. I have some videos also where we play against Leviathans with that build, so I tried to post a video of that, and that will probably be the last Leviathan video, and then we are at the end of it. But there's, in my opinion, there needs to be called for some more weapon balancing in general, and I honestly probably didn't really acknowledge it to the full fact until seeing it when you upscale it like this in Leviathan ClanWars battles. We also have someone like Double Cling in my clan who has played a Fatman build in ClanWars and literally lashed out more damage than all the rest of us in our teams, and it is just Fatmans, which has also always been considered an underdog. But once you combine that with the right weapon or the right hardware and the right cabin, well, all of a sudden you'll be able to lash out so much damage. And back in the day when I played my Executioner hover before they nerfed the Executioner to get that back in track, that one would also deal on average for each battle way more damage than any other build. We were looking at Typhoons dealing 5,000, 6,000 damage in average per session, where the Executioner would be able to push as much as 8,000 damage per 8,000 damage on average per Clan Wars session. So there is some imbalance going on there, and I hope that this has been helping the devs to actually realize that they should really take a look at a lot of epic weapons, because epic weapons are for the most part just the most dominant right now. And it's a good thing for the people who would like budget builds for Clan Wars that they can get in early, but I think on a balance level, on the fact that, you know, they probably do want this game to actually have the weapon rarity also reflect in how good the weapon is and how dominant the weapon is. I don't necessarily think that they should buff legendaries and relics, because that will just promote more seal clubbing and make it harder for people, because you can still bring that stuff into low power scope, but even out the battlefield a little bit more, hopefully. And I think that's sort of all of the thoughts that I have on it. All in all, I just really enjoyed the game mode, and I think it was a great fresh breath of fresh air into Clan Wars in general. Not saying that I really enjoyed it, but all in all, it was just it was something different, and I think we should cherish that. So if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments down here. I actually really want to know what you guys think about it, other than just it was shit and I boycotted it. So please try to be a little bit more constructive, because I'm genuinely curious to know what you guys think about all of this. And you know, you might be lucky the devs be reading the comment section, you never know. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys, and as always, stay fresh and keep yourself safe. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.